on, let him get it on. Then when mom come in, stop. You know, real quick.
So when mom's not around, really let him go at it.
Let him go at it.
Why?
He heard the word cancer before the world heard the word King. In 2016, just as his career was reaching new heights. Doctors diagnosed Chadwick Boseman with stage 3 colon cancer. It wasn't mild. It wasn't temporary. It was life-threatening. Most actors would pause everything. He accelerated. While agents negotiated contracts and studios mapped out franchises, Chadwick was quietly mapping out survival. Chemotherapy sessions became part of his calendar. Hospital visits blended into filming schedules. Surgery dates were squeezed between production meetings, but he made one decision early. No public announcement, no press release, no sympathy tour. He didn't want to be seen as fragile. He didn't want roles handed to him because of pity. He wanted to earn everything the same way he always had, through discipline, preparation, and quiet excellence. Close friends later revealed that he studied medical charts with the same focus he studied scripts. He asked questions. He researched treatments. He learned the science behind what was attacking him. He wanted to understand the enemy inside his body. He wanted control in a situation designed to take it away, but cancer doesn't negotiate. It demands. There were days his body felt unfamiliar. Days when fatigue wrapped around him like gravity had doubled. Days when pain lingered longer than confidence, and still, he refused to surrender his timeline to it. He once said, "You have to cherish things in a different way when you know the clock is ticking." From that moment on, every role became urgent, every performance felt heavier. Every opportunity felt sacred. Because he wasn't just acting anymore, he was racing. And no one in the audience had any idea. Before Wakanda, before red carpets, before global fame, there was grief. Chadwick Boseman grew up in Anderson, South Carolina, in a home built on faith, routine, and discipline. His mother worked long shifts as a nurse. His father ran a small upholstery business. Their world wasn't glamorous, but it was grounded. Structure mattered, education mattered, character mattered, but stability shattered when he was 17. A close friend was shot and killed. That loss didn't make him louder. It made him deeper. While others reacted with anger, Chadwick reacted with reflection. He wrote his first play as a response to the tragedy, not for school credit, not for applause, but to process pain, to ask questions about violence, injustice, and why young lives disappear without warning. At Howard University, he studied directing. Acting wasn't even the plan. He wanted to shape stories from behind the camera. He wanted to create narratives that challenged stereotypes instead of feeding them. A professor noticed something about him: restraint, focus, emotional intelligence beyond his years. Years later, it was revealed that Denzel Washington quietly funded his summer acting program at Oxford after learning about his talent. Chadwick never turned that story into publicity. Gratitude, for him, was private. He moved to Los Angeles and struggled like everyone else. Auditions, rejections, small television roles that barely paid the bills. Nothing glamorous, but he wasn't chasing quick fame. He was building depth. He once said he didn't want to play stereotypes. He wanted characters with consequence, men who carried history, dignity, and complexity. That mindset shaped every decision that followed, because for Chadwick, acting wasn't just a career. It was responsibility. Some actors choose easy roles. Chadwick Boseman chose weight. In 2013, he portrayed Jackie Robinson in 42. That wasn't just sports drama. That was American history. Robinson wasn't simply an athlete. He was a symbol of resistance, dignity, and controlled rage in the face of hatred. Chadwick trained relentlessly. He studied Robinson's posture, his silence, his restraint, the way he absorbed insults. Without breaking, he understood that the real performance wasn't in swinging the bat. It was in holding back tears. Then came James Brown and Get On Up, a complete transformation. Physical, vocal, emotional. He didn't imitate Brown's energy. He embodied it. The swagger, the rhythm, the volatility. It required stamina most actors would fear. And then Thurgood Marshall, a legal pioneer who challenged systemic injustice inside courtrooms. Long before it was safe to do so. Three cultural giants. But by the time he was filming Marshall, chemotherapy had already begun. Imagine memorizing courtroom speeches while your body is fighting poison. Imagine delivering powerful monologues while nausea lingers quietly in the background. Imagine portraying strength while privately managing fear. Crew members noticed he sometimes disappeared between takes. They assumed he was focusing on the next scene. He was recovering. He refused to compromise performance quality. If anything, The illness sharpened him. It made him intentional. Every line mattered. Every gesture felt deliberate. Every scene carried urgency. He wasn't just playing heroes. He was preserving them, and unknowingly preparing to join them. When Black Panther was released in 2018, it became more than a movie. It became movement. Theaters turned into celebrations. Strangers greeted each other with the Wakanda salute. Children dressed as T'Challa not just for Halloween, but for identity, for pride, for visibility. Representation shifted overnight, and at the center of it all stood Chadwick Boseman. Calm, regal, controlled. He carried that crown with dignity, but behind the scenes, his cancer had progressed to stage 4. Treatments intensified. Fatigue deepened. Pain became constant. His body was weaker, but the role demanded strength, and he gave it. Crew members later shared that he trained despite weakness. He practiced fight choreography even when energy was limited. He maintained posture despite discomfort. He protected the image of a king because millions were watching. But the most powerful moments happened off camera. He visited children battling cancer in hospitals, some in advanced stages, while secretly fighting the same disease. Think about that. He encouraged families. He hugged kids. He told them to stay strong. He told them heroes never quit, all while knowing his own prognosis was uncertain. He never allowed his personal suffering to overshadow the symbol he represented, because to him, Black Panther wasn't about box office numbers. It was about impact. It was about giving young black children a reflection of power, and impact required consistency. Even when his body was failing. In 2020, photos surfaced online. Chadwick looked noticeably thinner. The internet reacted instantly. Speculation turned cruel. Memes spread. Comment sections filled with mockery. People questioned his health, his habits, even his discipline. Strangers who had never met him felt entitled to analyze his body like it was public evidence. He said nothing. No clarification, no defense, no press conference correcting assumptions. He didn't believe his illness was public property. To him, suffering was not content. It wasn't a headline to manage or a sympathy card to play. It was something private, personal, sacred. While social media debated his appearance, he was filming, completing projects, managing aggressive treatment schedules that would have exhausted anyone else. He was undergoing surgeries between shoots, resting in trailers hooked for fluids, studying scripts while recovering from procedures. But when cameras rolled, he delivered. There was no visible compromise, no diminished presence. Directors later said he never used his condition as leverage. He never asked for pity. He showed up prepared, focused, professional. His circle stayed tight. Very few knew the full truth, and those who did were asked to keep it that way, because he didn't want the narrative to shift from his work to his illness. He believed the audience deserved the performance, not the struggle behind it. And perhaps he understood something deeper. Once people see you as fragile, they stop seeing you as powerful. He refused that shift. He kept the secret and carried the burden alone. August 28, 2020. The world froze. The announcement came suddenly. Chadwick Boseman had died at 43 after a private battle with colon cancer. For years, he had filmed 7 major projects while battling a disease that was quietly advancing. No one outside his inner circle knew. In his final weeks, he was at home with family. No dramatic hospital press conferences, no carefully staged farewell interviews, no public goodbye tour, just quiet, just presence, just loved ones nearby. Even in departure, he chose privacy. His passing felt surreal because he had been present in the culture, active, visible, working, promoting films, speaking at events, appearing strong. Fans replayed interviews, searching for clues. Was there fatigue in his eyes? Was there a hidden message in his words? A farewell disguised as inspiration? There were none. He had protected his story until the very end. And when it finally became public, the shock wasn't just grief, it was disbelief. The realization that while the world celebrated his strength on screen, he had been fighting for his life off it. How could someone carry that much pain so quietly? The answer might be simple. He never wanted to be defined by dying. He wanted to be remembered for living, and so he lived fully, working, creating, inspiring, until he couldn't anymore. Tributes poured in immediately. Actors, directors, athletes, musicians, voices from every corner of culture paused to honor him. Marvel Studios released a statement recognizing not only his talent, but his quiet courage. Co-stars spoke about his humility, his preparation, his calm leadership on set. But beyond Hollywood, something larger happened. Murals appeared across cities. In Los Angeles, in Atlanta, in small neighborhoods and major streets. Artists painted him in the Black Panther suit, arms crossed, eyes steady, a permanent reminder of what he represented. Athletes honored him with the Wakanda salute. Politicians reference him in speeches about representation and resilience. Classrooms held moments of reflection. Yet the most powerful reactions came from ordinary people. Parents posted videos of their children crying, children who had finally seen a hero who looked like them. Teachers shared essays written about Shala's courage. Cancer patients spoke about how his silence made them feel less alone. They saw in him a kind of strength that didn't need applause because he had shown them something rare. Dignity under pressure, strength without announcement, grace without self-promotion. He didn't market his battle. He endured it, and in doing so, he changed how the world understood heroism. Not as loud, not as dramatic, but steady, intentional, unbreakable, even. In vulnerability. In Hollywood, vulnerability is often public. Press tours, emotional interviews, headlines about bravery, carefully curated moments designed to humanize celebrities and generate empathy. Chadwick chose restraint. He understood timing. He understood that some battles are not meant for spectacle. In an industry that often rewards oversharing, he practiced discipline. Silence, for him, was not avoidance. It was control. He once said that suffering can either shrink you or sharpen you. For him, it sharpened. There was intention behind everything. The roles he accepted, the ones he declined, the way he carried himself in interviews, measured, thoughtful, never excessive. He wasn't chasing volume. He was building weight. After his passing, Howard University, his alma mater, renamed its College of Fine Arts in his honor. A permanent tribute to a man who believed deeply in artistic responsibility. Scholarships were established in his name. Young actors began studying not just his performances, but his pattern of choices, because that's where the blueprint is. He consistently chose roles that mattered, historical figures, cultural symbols, complex black men portrayed with dignity, intelligence, and nuance. That wasn't accidental. It was intentional legacy building. He wasn't interested in random stardom. He was curating impact. Each character added to a larger narrative about representation and power. He understood the long game, how art outlives the artist. And perhaps, deep down, he knew something others didn't. Perhaps he knew he didn't have decades to waste. So he didn't waste them. Despite global fame, Chadwick remained intensely private. In an era where visibility often equals relevance, he resisted constant exposure. He married quietly, no extravagant media rollout, no staged exclusives. Just a life decision kept sacred. He avoided flashy interviews. When he spoke, it was purposeful. When he appeared, it was meaningful. There were no random scandals, no performative controversies designed to trend. He kept his circle small. Friends describe him as thoughtful, spiritually grounded, deeply disciplined, someone who valued conversation over attention, reflection over reaction. He wasn't obsessed with celebrity culture. He was obsessed with purpose. Even during treatment, when exhaustion could have justified shortcuts, he remained selective. He read scripts carefully, rejected roles that didn't align with his values. He wasn't desperate for screen time. He was protective of symbolism. He understood influence. He understood that once you become an icon, every choice echoes louder than before. Every character, every endorsement, every public statement shapes perception, and perception shapes culture. So he guarded both. There's something powerful about restraint in a world addicted to noise. He didn't flood timelines. He didn't overshare personal struggles for relatability points. He let the work speak. And when you look back now, that privacy feels intentional, strategic, almost protective, not just of himself, but of what he represented. Because once you symbolize hope, you don't move carelessly. He made sure his choices echoed with intention, not volume. Impact. Chadwick Boseman didn't just play heroes, he became one. Not because he wore a vibranium suit, not because he held a fictional crown, not because audiences cheered when he appeared on screen, but because he faced mortality without spectacle. He worked through pain without complaint, filmed action sequences while recovering from treatments, delivered speeches about strength while quietly calculating time. He gave hope to children in hospitals while privately fighting for his own life. That is not acting. That is character. Many actors leave behind films. He left behind meaning. When people watch Black Panther, they don't just see fiction anymore. They see resilience layered into every frame. They see grace under pressure. They see discipline disguised as ease. They see a man who knew time was limited and chose to use it wisely. There's something profound about that awareness. Knowing the clock is ticking, yet refusing to let fear dictate your contribution. Refusing to let illness reduce your output. Refusing to let sympathy become your identity. Some stars burn out in chaos. Some fade quietly into obscurity, but some transform into something permanent. His story reshaped what strength looks like. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not announced with headlines. It is steady. It is intentional. It is purposeful. Chadwick didn't tell the world he was dying. He showed the world how to live. And that might be the most powerful performance of all.